stage with me so we can start our second session. Our first panelist is Melanie Koin. She's an organizer, she's a law student, she's at Bunge. Right, thank you. Our second panelist is Wambua. Need no introduction. Need no introduction. That's my mediator, law student finalist. Our third mediator is Lewis. He's a researcher. He's at Bunge. He does so many things. And saving the best for last, our fourth teacher is Cormac. Oh wow, architecture student, photographer extraordinaire. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, so we are beginning. For the people in the audience who have never heard of Bunge Mayut, I'm using flashcards because I'm a law student and I'm still studying. So sad. Imagine, yes. So, for the people in the audience who have never heard of Bunge Mayut, how would you describe it for, let's say, to a 16-year-old? How would you describe Bunge for them? What do they do? Who are they? Why do we care?
That's a good question. Bunge is it's just a group of young guys, same as what you guys are doing. At the basics of it is just a team of young people working towards fighting the government, but in a good way. We're superheroes, but normal guys who are superheroes. We mostly do civic education. So if there's a new bill that says a bit offish, we call guys to it. We're like, hey guys, look at this bill. Look what's going on. If say there's a decision in parliament that's being made that we should have a say in it, we basically put a spotlight on issues that should be important to the youth because we are the youth and because mostly we just want this country to be good for us or to like work for us. At the basics of it, that's what we do.
All right. I think we'll go with that. Um, so, during the finance bill protest and in the ensuing period after, we had a lot of talk about the calling of MPs. I need you to speak to that. What's the process and why, after all this fervor, after all this anger, why has it not translated into recalling of MPs? I think I'll address this to Wambua. Or anyone can take it on.
It's okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot to the organizers of this event. It's really, really important to keep the conversation going. Thanks a lot to the many friends that I met during protests that are here, from Tabiti, the filmmaker, to the others at the back, and to my brother who saved his brothers. I know what it feels like, man, because I was there. It's terrifying. So anyway, when we talk about recalling an MP, first and foremost, let me say that it's really hard in Kenya as it is now. That answers the first part of the question as to why we have not seen that being actualized. Because number one, it needs a fully working IEBC, which we do not have, and which it seems that the government is intentionally making sure that we don't have it, so that as the majority, as the young people who are the majority in the country, don't do that because they know we are very much capable of doing that. Let me say again that in 2016, there was a petition filed in the High Court by Katiba Institute and another institution, and it was against the AG and the Parliament. And the reason behind it is because Article 104 gives the electorate, that is me and you, the right to recall your MP. But then again, MPs in Kenya, being the MPs in Kenya they went under the Elections Act, I think of 2011, if I'm not wrong, under section 45 to 48. They made it so hard so that unless you're capable, not just in terms of understanding how elections work in Kenya, but in terms of even money, you can't recall an MP because the first thing they required under Section 45 of the Act was you have to first file a petition in the High Court. So now, as a reasonable young person, how many Wanjikos can do that, honestly speaking? Very few, right? But again, Katiba challenged all that process, and the High Court gave a few directions. And in my own opinion, as a final year law student, is that I feel like they left a few gaps. Because one of the things they said is that they removed the whole filing of the High Court case thing, but then they still left others hanging. Like, for example, you cannot recall an MP twice. And so my question is, if for example, it requires that you can only recall an MP after 2 years, and I cannot recall him twice, what if on the third year, what if he steals money? So I can't recall him. He will still remain there, right? So basically, that's the process. You have to collect signatures, more than 1,000, I suppose. You guys will confirm. You have to, again, file the same petition to the IEBC, which will have to verify. And then after that, they'll have to gauge whether your petition is worth it or not, which they can decide to throw it away. So it's like that as we are at now in Kenya. Yeah.
Okay, it's very difficult. My petition is it's not easy, even for me as a law student. So, the poster for this event shows you, Wambua, holding an Audit Our National Debt poster. What for you would that entail? Like, why is it important?
Wow, that's a good question. Of course, it needs a good number of time to talk about it in its entirety. But basically, for me, what it means is I feel like there's a lot of, actually, almost every debt that we have as a country, nobody asked, the masses never signed for it, right? You never authorized for it to be borrowed, but people borrowed, right? Every day you're waking up and a citizen cannot account for 15 billion. Every day you're waking up and the Auditor General slaps you with a report that actually, Eurobond, more than 300 billion of it did not reach Kenya. And then you're like, okay, wait. So the World Bank stole that money. You see? Like, we have to audit it. And the reason as to why I feel like it needs to be audited is because we don't need to pay all this debt. Whoever borrowed can pay it. As a country, we don't need to pay it because when it was borrowed, I was not there. So why am I paying for it, right? And because they know, because they know if we audit, we will know where it is. And he can speak more about auditing because I know he has worked in that area. He will tell you that if we go for that money, we will definitely know where it went. Now the problem comes in with it's a whole club of big boys. So they make it difficult for us to audit. I mean, when we were protesting, you guys saw the Auditor General was threatened that his funding will be slashed by, I think, 100 million, right? That's what they do. So it needs to be audited because we don't need to pay it. We were not there when it was asked for. We didn't authorize. That's why I feel like it needs to be audited. All of it, from the national government to the county government. And we don't need to pay it. It's not our debt.
All right. Nothing more to say. Would you like to add to that?
Yes, I think he's spoken very well on why we don't need to pay it. But if you're to look at it procedurally, I agree that some debt is odious debt in the sense that it's money we didn't subject to public participation, and it's money we don't see in our daily lives. We don't see in our infrastructure, and even if we see them, they're grossly exaggerated in terms of pricing. So procedurally, if you're to see how you can audit public debt, and there's a discussion, if you hate NGO people, by there, I'm one of them. In my 9 to 5, yes, but after that, I'm at Bunge la Mayut. If you actually speak to the Public Debt Management Office, the first thing they usually say is they want to be an autonomous office away from the Treasury, because then that gives them the power to actually tell you, to actually produce the debt register and tell you where debt is coming from, what debt we're paying and how much we're paying. We go to the CBK, they tell you that this is the debt we're paying, and these are the amounts, and people have tried to come up with those registers, analyze them. The actual problem lies in the fact that first there's something called a debt ceiling, and it's pretty much pointless if you ask me, but it serves a purpose. It's a symbol of what you're not supposed to go beyond. It's like capping your budget, right? So we're supposed to borrow this much this year, so we aren't going to past, our debt shouldn't go past 8 billion. Right now, I think it's 11 trillion or something. Uh, uh, Previously, it was like 8 trillion. It's actually around 11. I think they say it's much less, but I think it's much higher. So the question is usually around who's supposed to then sort of increase that debt ceiling, and usually told Bunge should increase it. And of course, they increase it because Treasury usually tells them, because it makes sense to increase it, because if the government tells you we have a deficit, Treasury tells you we have a deficit of XY amount, then you ought to increase that so that you can feed into the deficit, right? But the problem we have really is what Okia keeps on saying, is that we have debt that was taken and procured, but the people who procured these debts were at National Treasury. Nobody came to Parliament and told the people's representatives that, okay, we need 80 billion or 365 billion or 400 billion, like for the SGR. Nobody came to Bunge and said, okay, these are the numbers we're seeking to borrow from the Chinese, and we hope to construct the SGR with it. This is the estimated cost of the project. This is what the cost will cover. Nobody ever comes to that. I think the time that discussion comes up is during the budgets, the budget making process, and we're told, okay, you need to pay for this debt. We borrowed for this, and we're supposed to pay for it. I would go with with the discussion around not paying it, as you said it, but that has also has to be structured in a way that we claim that the people who procure the debt should be the ones to tell us why they procure the debt. If they can't pay it, we take them to court. You follow the money, recover their assets. That's as simple as it gets. Right. Use the assets to sort of pay some of those debts. As simple as it gets. I don't think there's any other way to go around it. But yeah, it's good to have Bunge to do sort of a debt approval, for lack of a better word, and also manage the ceiling on the debt. But also, I think it's good to also mention that our Bunge is useless in hash terms. Yeah. Very useless. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, we'll pivot to civic education. We talk about civic education all the time. It's really important. But there's really this emphasis on taking civic education to the rural areas. We need to translate for them. We need to do this and that. And yes, sometimes that's important. But I think there's a missed opportunity in civically educating the urban centers, since we're the ones who've elected Sonko, then elected Sakaja. So what do you think about that? What would you say about that? Anyone? Melanie?
Okay, that's a good point, and I was about to raise the fact that it's rural people who elected Omtata. Us guys put Sakaja, and before Sakaja we had Sonko, and before Sonko we had... So it's us guys, because even during elections, when did we do 2022? Even me, I was on Twitter saying Sakaja and his dimples. Like, all of us were there. And like, we need to decide that we on our daily or how we operate daily perpetuates these guys, how we give them attention, how we are like, oh, it's okay, but at least he has good English, like we are with Sifuna right now. You get? Like, we are beyond thinking, or we feel like we get the, oh, we need good roads. We feel like we are above intellectually than guys from Mashinani, which is not true, because our education system is shit. Sorry. On civic education, it's not just about civic education, but the bigger matter should be better options. We should put our focus on guys who are not as popular but have good talking points. guys who are saying, oh, I actually want to fix your road. Guys, kids in school depend on 1 meal a day that's provided by Gava, and that's being taken away. Who's talking about that? Guys, Nairobi has like 3 million people. Who's talking about the kids who are starving? Who's worrying about the sewage system? Because we lose ourselves in the Nairobi brain of, or it's just I'll take an Uber instead. I don't know how to put this, but if we put our focus on guys who actually want, like we put our focus on Omtata, if we pick good leaders who we can focus on and give that kind of attention, we'd move far and quick. Because with time, with civic education, you realize the biggest asset you can get is someone's attention and someone's will to participate in your what's it called, organize, or things you organize, like how you guys came here. This is civic participation. We are doing this. So if we pick leaders who know what they are doing and we focused on them, as opposed to following popular guys, we move quick and fast.
All right. Thank you so much. The next one is to Cormac. I haven't forgotten about you. You've gone from photographing bodies in the studio to photographing bodies in the battlefield. You've gone from the studio to bodies on the battlefield. Is it a case of the more things change, the more they remain the same? What have you learned? What are the transferable skills?
Uh, okay. I remember 18th, the first Mandamano. Seeing it, there's a sense of like, okay. I feel like personally, I've always been like into things that get you adrenaline and all that. So I remember just telling my friend, crazy enough, I feel I'd also go for Mandamano because before what you saw Mandamano as was this thing Lowe's like going for what sorry when Raila is feeling wajaka wametoka nje nini, so like you'd always know maandamano umeenda kulala, si ndio? But now with this coming one, there's a sense of I know why people are going.
Yeah.
Like with this one, in a sense, like the photos even give you the civic education.
Yeah.
You see the people holding the placards. You see people shouting certain chants and why they're shouting them.
Yeah.
So seeing what happened on the 18th was a sense of like, why am I there? Why aren't I there? Yeah. So yeah, then I went on the 20th. It changed me for sure. It was a set, and then I think what even made it now crazier was now Kware, seeing what happened, the after effects of that. So I, with the privilege of being like, oh damn bro, imefika 5, watch me niende nyumbani, nenda nalala vizuri, and then watu wa Kware, probably even watu hadi wakwenda maandamano, they're suffering night after every maandamano. So I guess that's really radicalized me, and I'll keep going hadi nikiwa mwisho pekee. Yeah, nataka naenda. Yeah.
Excellent. Wow. So there's a certain unique perspective that creatives have on the protests. Like for them, it's that for them, they never really had a chance. Like there's no investing in creative spaces here. There's no one really cares. And when you tell to your parents, it's like, talk to your life away. Like, what do you mean you want to be a musician? I want to be a rapper. And then on my school fees. So creative really found a voice and a place in these protests. What can you speak to that perspective?
I think it also helped creatives because of the pain they've been going through in the industry on its own. This gave them an outlet now to use their art to scream, to say, like, why are we being treated like this? We are offering you this, we can do this, and yet we're not receiving any help whatsoever. I feel like the protest was a channel for everyone
Yeah.
to get out what they were feeling. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So we need to start telling our own stories. This documentary was a first step. This audience is a first step. What do you guys think are the next ones? If any.
I think I would like to get back to something Melanie said on civic engagement. I don't know. I feel like I particularly work with the Constitution probably a lot of my days, right? But the one chapter I know is Leadership and Integrity Act section. Chapter 6. And if I look at the people we elect, every time I think about just largely, I think I spoke about this in the last session of Bunge, I usually want to know how do we think as Kenyans? It's what is our problem with how we elect our leaders? And I think that speaks to where we're going next. Because I think something I usually say and laugh at is, do you guys usually have the alarm of the person you want to be and then your alarm that you wake up to, right? You have the 5 a.m. alarm that you're supposed to go to gym with, and then there's the actual 8 a.m. alarm you wake up with. You see, that's a nice joke, right? And until it's brought to the Constitution, I actually think that's how our Constitution works. We really want to be these people, but we can't seem to be these people. And that's how I think we should start thinking about how do we adhere better to the Leadership and Integrity Act. And the first step for me going forward, as in looking at how things are, I sort of have, as a person who's gone to the protest twice and looked through this, I sort of see two options here. It's the president will go home before 2027, and if he doesn't, it means we have to get him out in 2027. So those two options for me, right? And if I look at the likelihood of him going on before 2027, the probability is much lower than I would think. Logically speaking, I know there's some of us who feel strongly that he should go before then, but yes, logically speaking, I think it's impossible, or it's possible, yes, not impossible, don't misquote me. It's possible, but it's hard. What is easier is building collectively towards getting him out of office in 2027. And the way I see that is, I see that through two things: inclusive political parties and the cost of politics, right? So the first thing I see with the cost of politics is how I do a lot of anti-corruption work on my daily work life, right? So how I see how politics, money fuels politics, is Jalango said, I think on some show on Netflix, that I just want to view that part particularly, that he spent 150 million to become Langata MP. How many of you have 150 million? To Gawe, by the way.
In hard cash for bribes.
Yeah, in hard cash for bribes. And it's a you have definitely. Sorry, I don't want to take much of your time, but yeah. So let me rush this. So 150 million. WFD and Mzalendo Trust have also done studies that shows how much people pay to become MPs, senators, governors, presidents, and I think it's about time we start thinking how we can get us as a community, and not the divide between urban people and rural people. So it's an interesting divide. As Melanie said, I think we are Dama. It's just Dama. That's what Dama. But anyway, that aside, so this is it. The first step is to try and get money out of politics. And if we can't take money out of politics, how do we counter the narrative of money? Use positive languaging to show the effects of electing bad leaders just because they have money. I walk out of my place in my house, like last night I walked to a hospital, I was taking someone to hospital, and as I was walking, because there are no street lights, I happened to have tripped on a pothole. That's a problem, because I would equally have ended up now in the hospital. It's a thing. So try and push that language that we don't have a road because we elected X, Y, and Z. So if we want better roads, who do we elect that will give us better roads, right? just languaging. Because the thing is, if you take the aura for aura debate too far, that's their game. They'll play it very well. You won't win at that. It's you going with your truth and with your integrity, and trying to tell people about leadership and integrity, which technically it's an aspirational self for us. It's that 6 o'clock alarm. That section of the Constitution is that 6 o'clock alarm that we adhere to, we aspire to, but we don't seem to be getting to. So what's our steps to getting to that? The first way of getting money out of politics is by fighting with people hard when it comes to corruption. Push the EACC, push the Asset Recovery Agency, tell them to return Rigi's case. Why did they take it away? 200 million. We need our money back. Go to the political parties directorate and tell them that we need to have caps for finances. We need to know who's your source of money for elections. Let's push for laws that are better when it comes to capping campaign financing. And then secondly, let's do a revamp of political parties. You guys approach the people you know. If you want to form your own political parties, I tell people it's a free world. Do it. The only way for you to push for narratives or to push for your own narratives and to take agency is by being at the table. You just can't shout out the entire time outside. And I'm not against the idea of not being sort of leaderless. It's a good idea. It's a good intention. Actually, what I would advise is push the narrative as a collective. The larger numbers you have, the better you are, the better leverage you have, right? And being a collective will mean you actually hold each other accountable, so that in case superhero over here is elected into government, we actually can tell him, we used to be with you in this place and we told you we need better governance and we need transparency and accountability. And so we push him to do that. Otherwise, if individually go, someone will go ahead and become a CS or an MP, and they'll just become the same sort of people we have right now. And I would make a reference to, I think, someone who was once a minister from Nyanza who became a minister for lands. And when he was asked why there was misappropriation of land in his ministry, he said, it's because I fought for the liberation of this country. He actually said, I fought for the liberation. I swear I'm not misquoting him. He said, in the exact word, I was young, but I remember. He said, he was asked, you have corruption scandals and issues in the land ministry. He said, but I fought for this country in the second liberation. And I went like, what is the correlation? You have an issue, address it. We don't care if you fought for it or you didn't. Thank you for fighting for it, but don't come steal our land. We need to have that distinction. Yeah. Sorry for taking a lot of your time, but yes.
No, lovely.
Can I add something now?
Excellent. Yes.
Yeah. So okay, I'll give my opinion. I support a lot of what he's saying, and I remember every time we have a Bunge session, Luis is always asking that he's unable to understand the mind of the electorate in Kenya. Anyway, that aside, to answer your question, mine is this. Right now, we don't have a government. And by government, I mean the executive. We don't have one. I'll give reasons. Number two, we don't have the legislature, which is supposed to be representing us and making sure that the excesses of the government don't hurt us, right? Yeah. Thirdly, we don't have a judiciary, not because the judiciary is not on our side, but because the judiciary is being ignored right, left, and center, right? So right now, we only have ourselves to ourselves. We saw what happened with SHIF, right? The Social Health Insurance Fund. They ignored the court orders, right? We saw what happened with the 18 increase in fuel, whatever. Wale ambao mko na magari, mimi sina gari. Mulishtukia tu mnailipa, si ndio? And we can give tens of court orders that have been ignored, right? So that is just to tell you that you don't have an executive right now. You don't have a legislature. Judiciary is being ignored. So my idea is that we should be on the streets from Monday to Sunday. That's just it. Because right now, saizi Auditor General akikuambia ati e-citizen cannot account for 15 billion. Utapele, like, yeah, that is the question. And then the next question you ask yourself is, Now that a citizen cannot account for 15 billion, who do I report to? Legislature. It is owned by the government. Do you report the government to the government? It will not listen to you. So we should be on the streets from Monday to Sunday. 1 week after the other, 1 month after the other. Talking of creatives, last week, some of these creatives were there. Power 254 held a town hall meeting. We went through the creative Senate bill, clause by clause. Guys, you don't want to read that bill. Because you're like, okay, were you even thinking of creatives? Ama ulikuwa unajifikiria tu? Because how do you incorporate a body that is unincorporated to be in charge of creatives? So when their rights are breached, who do they go to report to if they cannot report this body, right? So the government is full of jokers. We need to be on the streets. Yeah. That is my take.
Excellent, 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 excellent. I feel very challenged by both speakers. Itabidi nimeanza kuamka na
Can I
hiyo
say
alarm.
one thing? I guess for me, since joining the protest, my main focus has always been people. Why are you there? Why? What's the thinking behind why we do this? And something that's really according to me has been like how also the revolution has been changing and going from one form to the other. Like you can see what Morara is doing right now, and it's even pushed other people to start doing the same.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's such an importance on ensuring everyone knows why you should also be doing the same thing. So like even in conversations like this, I really want to push for inclusivity. Ka Bunge, tafuta mtu ako side za Dago, tafuta mtu ako side za Kiambu Road. Like everyone should be in this. Hell, even try brings one's parent. Knows easy my stories are. Why are you still doing this?
Yeah.
Like I feel like people. It's very integral. There's such a. I want to say there's a sort of cultural drought. How because of how they've been raised and how things are going on right now. Oh, utasikia story ya hata mimi ningekuwa presoed, hadi mimi ningekuwa naiba. It's like such things. Why should anyone be thinking like that? So inclusivity, I feel, is very, very important. Yeah. So include them.
Next thing we'll talk about professionalism and protest. We usually have this. It's actually we learn it that either you go to the streets and you sacrifice your credibility in the workplace or in the education space where you can't be this person outside the streets and be taken seriously in the office. Is that something you've experienced? Is it something we can reconcile? What do you think? In 2 minutes, someone will take it. Who wants to take it?
Well, I can start. I think that's a whole myth because we also charisma gets sold out, right? And we also how useful he was during the protests. I feel like it generally depends on the ideology of the people around you. And it's okay because all the guys don't get mandamano, but what they get is corruption. So I feel like the only way to like stab, because I can talk about my mom, because my mom didn't like the fact that we were outside and we were demonstrating. But then now each time we like pass something our area MP has not fixed, I'm like, you see, the guy you put there, you see that school, you see they don't have free meals, you see that road, you see that church that's stealing from people, that's your fault. Why are you doing this? And why don't you want me to go and yell against this? What is it about you that's protecting these people? You have to bring it home for them and ask them, why are you defending these guys? What are you getting from them? Where are your children? Your sons are killing themselves because they're unemployed, because they have no future in this country. How do you feel about that? Your sons are killing themselves because you're putting these people there. Guilt trip them into voting. Basically, yeah.
One more speaker.
I think I'll speak from an experience of being in the NGO space in the country. I usually am a self-critic of the space I work in because I usually say the per diem culture you see in the government was brought by NGOs. Let nobody lie to you. Yeah, it was adapted from us. The NGOs never used to, the government offices never used to have per diems. They came with NGO culture. And if you see right now, I think at the risk of, yeah, I hope this isn't going to go out there. Let us get a letter tomorrow or Saturday in the morning. But yeah, no problem. We can do it. The thing is, for me, at least I went out because my bosses are not in the country, technically. So at least I could decide when I'm going out and they understand what I'm going out for. But I know a couple of colleagues and friends who work within the same sector and even relatives of mine. My sister couldn't go for the protest because she worked for the government and she was technically told by my parents not to go out because she works for the government. She ended up staying in despite wanting to go out. I have friends who, because of their collaborations with government, couldn't go out to the streets because they thought that it would be harder to invite MPs to their meetings or even the CSS if you're in a public debt discussion or economic discussion, or even EACC and the likes, because of course they fear associating with you because you're part of the protest and loudly so. But I think, as Melanie has said, stand with your truth. If it kills you, fine. If it keeps you alive, whatever it does, yeah, stand with your truth. Just work with what you believe in. Really, I usually say you can get cancelled at the workplace and still do other things. I don't think there is a lack of opportunity to do the things you love. We're doing things at Bunge and Mayut without necessarily getting funding from anyone. It's just us coming together within our short times. We have the five of us and just putting in resources and trying to work with what you're interested in. So ultimately, yes, I know you can't starve to death. You have to protect your jobs and everything. But as you do that, I think someone once told me, as you work for a European organization, always remember you're an African. And I think that has stuck with me because he's a senior in the field, and he told me, we understand that you're there for your own interests, and we are here for when you come back. I think that's what you need to understand. We are okay with you not showing up because we understand that you have to keep your jobs, some of you, right? And we understand that you're not here, but we will be here when you get back to receive you. Yeah. And we understand that you're part of the struggle. I think that's a most important point to make.
Okay. As we conclude, I think it's much to remember that change can't be effected individually, and if you do it alone, you will not get too far. So how can we tap into the collective community we have, and how can we make it effective community? Go ahead, Wambua and Cormac.
Okay, I think first and foremost, to make sure that we are able to be a collective community, one is what Luku Radio and all the organizations here, what you guys are doing. This is one of them, because we feel connected. There are lawyers here, there are creatives here, we have people working in the NGO sector. I mean, we all feel connected, right? And we are united for the same goal, to better our country. And the other thing is what Luis and Melanie have said, standing for the truth. I remember, I think it was on 25th during the protest. That day it was very, very intense. So I didn't know I was all over. So the next day I was called by a judicial officer, head of a station. They called me in their office and they asked me, what are you doing in protest? And remember, I'm a student. I'm just a law student. So they were like, do you know the government can make sure Peter KSL? And I was like, okay, what is going on here? I'm telling you, true story. This happened. Our whole head of a judicial, station. And I was like, okay, what are you talking about? They're like, huwezi badilisha hii nchi, so wachana na maandamano. Umesikia kijana? And I was like, but again, it is because of people like you that I am there, you know? And she was like, hata ukapita KSL, tunaweza make sure utaifika kwa bench, because she asked me whether I want to be on the bench, and I was like, I waited for that since I was in primary school. I'll end up there in one way or the other. And she was like, serikali inaweza make sure uta end up there. So After that, yeah. So after that, I called my closest friend. His name is Jeff Franklin, the Grand Counsel. He can attest to this. And he was like, let's reach out to a few people. Let's reach out to the CJ Emeritus, Mutunga. We see what we can do about it. So we are trying to still ask other people how that can be. So basically, it's just to be strong, because that was on a Tuesday. Thursday, I was on the street again. Just be strong and always know this, that we are all connected. Let nobody lie to you that there is you and me. We are all connected in one way or the other. Just the same way soil and the seed and the leaf, they are all connected in one way or the other, right? We are all connected. That's why when creatives are being hurt, I show up on those protests. When teachers are protesting, I show up. I'm not a teacher, it has nothing to do with me, but I know it has everything to do with me. So we must put pride down and stand strong with each other. Whether you are a photographer or, yeah, be there for each other. Thank you.
Cormac.
I think what I'd like to say is one of the lessons, also actually by John Mark, was don't assume everyone knows what you know. So like you'll tweet something, get 1,000 likes, and then be like, we're all in the step in the right direction. Or Bunge la Mayut mkuja 40, you all shout, Ruto must go, and you're like, we're going. What needs to happen is, after that, you should also go tell your go tell your followers, go tell your friends. Hadi mtu akiuliza swali ya ujinga, don't kwani watch news or something now. Talk to them. I feel like this is gonna sound crazy, but the one thing I can take from Ruto is, if you have your Prado, why do you panda juu uanze kuongelesha watu kwa like spread the word. That's the thing. Civic education on a large scale is very important. Kaa kuna pastor ameingia kwa mat na haombei watu wa kware, mwambie nyamaze atoke. Literally. So like just spread the word. Yeah. Go if it's you can even put 1 hour, take 10 minutes, 8 a.m. in the morning every day, go on your story, talk about a certain bill, or yeah, exactly, yeah, surely, yeah, 10 minutes to tell people to do this, or if you have that one friend amekuuliza mwende protest pamoja, they might be traumatized and never go again, but at least they know they are never going to be for Ruto. So yeah, so it's I feel like community will get stronger once we have a collective mindset. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. I really don't want to go, but time is really on our case.
Yeah, okay. Touching on the question of meritocracy, I think the first thing we need to do is to get it right from the electorate, from the elections. Kindly from 2027, let's get it right, right? Okay. We cannot get it right 100%, but let's try and get it right. And lastly, it starts with you and me, by knowing that there's no such a thing as a Kikuyu and a Kamba. We are just Kenyans. We share the same breath. Your problems are mine. So if you ask for my help, I should come running, whether I am in your profession or not. We are in this together, all of us. No giving up, no retaliating. Yeah.
Excellent. One word from Cormac.
I think just I'll say a quote.
Yeah.
I can't dismantle the master's house with the master's tools.
Excellent. I love that.